It is Tuesday, May 21st, 2024. This is another edition of Baseball Today, presented to you by our friends over at Factor. Don't forget to get your Factor question of the weekend by Thursday night so we can use it on Friday's show and make you really famous and cool with all your friends. That's what we want to do. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan, and intern Tommy along for the way as well. What up? Oh, you caught the pencil today.
I always catch the pencil.
Not always. Not always.
Okay.
All right.
What's up, bro?
It's all good. It's all good.
You said you were in a feisty mood this morning, and now,
No,
do you want to wrestle a little bit or something? Just get
No,
that
I'm
aggression out?
not feisty. I'm just, there's a lot going on here. And, the matriarch of the home is elsewhere with her mom. She's out of town, which is awesome. Happy for her. Always got to get away. And
you and I shared duties this morning. You took care of Brady. I had to get Isla and Teddy out of the house, bring them to school, make lunches, all these things, because my beautiful bride was at Pilates.
I love that. By the way, people
Keep
think,
tight.
Rose, you've got an 18-year-old son. What do you have to do? If you haven't been there yet, sometimes it's easier to get the little kids out of the house than it is to get a sleeping giant out of bed when he's basically done with school. So just want to tell you.
I would challenge that one, but
I've been through both.
Agree to disagree.
Maybe I just forgot what it was with the little ones. We'll start off with a tip of the cap to none other than Liz McGuire, who is the toughest baseball fan I think we have ever seen. Took a 110-mile-an-hour foul ball right off the coconut at a Blue Jays game, stuck around. She said she didn't even get the baseball, by the way. Stuck around for the rest of the game, and then tweeted at the Jays, hey, can you hook a girl up, maybe get her a baseball? I'll get her a date with a plastic surgeon out here, I think. Could you believe the look here?
I mean, the initial reaction of the forehead, the baseball that looks like it went inside of her head, that is crazy. And she stayed at the game. I don't think that was medically smart to stay at the game. You probably should have got checked out. But she's definitely tough. And I don't know what the Blue Jays have done for her, if they've done anything yet, but they better.
Yeah.
Like, this is, again, one of those situations. Free, easy PR for you. Like, take care of one of your fans who's obviously, a massive Blue Jays fan.
It actually gave me a little PTSD back to my best damn days. I don't know if you remember the fighter Hasim Rahman. He was a heavyweight that fought Evander Holyfield and ended up getting the same thing in a fight where they had to stop it. Well, we did a skit where I interviewed the blob on his head. And we put like a mouth on it through TV technology, and I interviewed. And so the first thing I saw, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to interview that thing again.
That looks crazy right there. I don't know. Bo, make it right too, Bo.
Yeah.
Bo, Blue Jays. I see Topps got the cards out. I know they gave her, they said 110 cards, and they gave it all to her because it was 110 miles off the bat. That's crazy.
It is crazy. Well, hopefully it comes out with a...
Also, bring a glove to the game. That's what I keep telling people,
Be careful. My buddy Robert Flores from MLB Network will have you.
I don't care what Robert Flores has to say about that.
Okay.
I bring my glove every single chance I get to the game, Robert.
We're going to start the show with something that's very scary for hitters at the major league level. The return of Chris Sale. 7 more shutout innings as the Braves salvage a split with the San Diego Padres in their day-night doubleheader. Crazy comeback by the Padres in Game 1, by the way, when they were down 5-0 in like the 6th inning. As for Sale, he has now thrown 20 consecutive scoreless innings. At age 35, are you comfortable with saying he is back to the status that he was 6 or 7 years ago?
I mean, he's pitching to an elite status right now. Yes, I'm very, very comfortable in saying that. You mentioned the 20 consecutive innings. Go look at his Baseball Savant page. It's blood red, everything in the 90th percentile or above. And I say this all the time about Chris Sale. As long as he's healthy and he's able to throw the ball with some sort of velocity, he's a problem for hitters because it's so different. There's nobody else that looks like Chris Sale, and it's never a comfortable at bat. And he has all the tricks to not only pitch as a power pitcher like he's done in the past and kind of looks like now, but he has the adjustability to be like one of the guys that makes that transition as he gets older, starts throwing more off-speed stuff, locating his fastball more, relying more on movement. It's just so tricky because of the arm slot that he comes out of. You just can't get ready for a guy like Sale. You can't say, oh, I faced this pitcher and I'm going to approach him the same way, because there's nobody like him. So as long as he's healthy, And I think what we do as baseball fans is, if a guy gets hurt or has, a quote unquote down year, we just tend to give up on him, especially if he's north of 30. We're like, oh, he's done. We did that with Verlander one year, and he pitched another 5 years. And won a Cy Young. Like Chris Sale is of that ilk. So like, forget that he had a 4.3 last year or whatever it was. A lot of guys would kill for a 4.3, by the way. This guy, when he's healthy and going right, this is who he is, and he'll be that for the foreseeable future.
I think it's great that he has returned to this. His strikeout numbers they're still very good, but a tad bit down from when he was at the peak of his career, I suppose you would say. He had 7 straight 200 strikeout seasons, had 1 year where he was north of 300, which was ridiculous. I just started dipping into his stats. And obviously we know that the win has taken a major, major backseat for starting pitchers, and you could do with that whatever you want as a baseball fan. I am curious if he finishes this year really strong and has a couple more in Atlanta where he is excellent, if he's not in a Cooperstown discussion. He has got 6 top 5 finishes in Cy Young voting, 6 of them. His ERA plus is significantly better than a guy like Mike Mussina, who had 270 wins and pitched for 2 decades. But Sale's creeping up on that. Like by the time he's done, as long as his arm doesn't fall off, he's going to get 17, 18, 19 years in. He won't nearly get close to 200 wins, I don't think. I think he's at 126. So he might end up over 150 for his career. But when you talk about just watching his career and the dominance he had and how he changed the game with a very special delivery that was impossible to pick up at times, as you can attest, I wonder if he's not in a conversation one day.
I think he 100% is, Chris. And I know he was definitely on track for that. 2020, 21, 22 definitely hurt the statistics, the counting stats side of that, because right now he's sitting at 2,259 strikeouts. Like he would have been much closer to 3,000. I think he could still get there.
Mm-hmm.
How many more years does he have?
So he ended up signing that extension after he got traded. But
yes,
he's 35 right now. I think he just turned 35, if I'm not mistaken.
It just all depends on how long he wants to play. He's going to have a job pitching at the big league level. That is the truth. Like if he wants to pitch, he'll have a job and he'll be a starter wherever he goes. So if he wants to do it, even if he approaches 3,000, I still think I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. Like that run of dominance that he had, that's kind of what they look for. You add the longevity onto it. And how could you keep a guy like that out?
Well, who knows? I try not to get into the
You're right. We don't know.
The baseball writers of America.
He's done everything you need to do to at least be in like a real deal discussion about it.
And hopefully he stays healthy, gives the Braves exactly what they need here in 2024, and is right there. And who knows? Maybe he finally gets his hands on that elusive Cy Young Award. In the meantime, Chris Sale's old teammate in Boston is lighting up just about every pitcher out there.
He has homered in 5 consecutive games. Here's a drive, sucked the other way to left field deep. Palacios back. It is gone! Rafael Devers has done it. He has set a new Red Sox record by homering in 6 consecutive games.
Oh.
Red Sox record. That's no expansion franchise. This baby's been around for quite a while. So to set that mark is pretty darn cool. I saw he was saying afterward, it's not like I was trying to do it, but man, the minute I saw the ball traveling in the strike zone and hit it to left field, good for him, man. Good for him. 6 straight.
Yeah, no, he's an absolute stud. The thing I was going through his stats, and obviously I love that swing, that backdoor power that he has is, not everyone can do that. That's safe for the real elite hitters in baseball, and he has it in spades. I was going through his game logs, Chris. This guy has to be the happiest hitter on the planet right now. He's played in 37 games. He's had a hit in 30 of those games. Only 7 games out of the year he's gone hitless. That's crazy. That's when you come to the field and you're just feeling great about yourself. I used to ask Miguel Cabrera about that all the time. How does it feel to show up to the park just knowing you're going to get a knock? 1 for 3 with a walk, most likely. Like, how does that feel? I never experienced that. Devers is walking on air right now.
So is he an MVP candidate is the question. Because I personally don't think so yet.
Not yet. I think there's, and initially when you sent me the questions was top 5 AL MVP candidate. I think I could name 5 that I would give it to before him. The defense kind of takes away from the offense a little bit there. I think that's something that you'll have to look at, especially in today's day and age. So I wouldn't give him top 5 MVP candidates, but if you continue on this path of what he's doing and the way he's hitting the ball, and if you end with a 940, 950 OPS, you're going to be in the discussion.
Yeah, I saw somebody come out with a list already of odds, and I think I saw the 2 Yankees, I saw Kyle Tucker, I saw Bobby Wood, I saw Gunnar Henderson just as a top 5. You mentioned the problem with Devers is his defense, and not even that it's average, it's below average, and in some cases significantly below average. Like he is, let's call it what it is. He's a DH masquerading in a 27-year-old's body right now, and well, I mean, he is. I think if Boston could do anything about it, that's the direction. And there's not going to be anything wrong with that because he's got so much time left on his deal and so much money left that he's going to slide into that DH role, I feel like.
I'm sure he will eventually. They want to keep him. I think teams really fight against having a primary DH, unless it's someone they bring in for that year to be the DH. I think most teams like to have that as a flex position where you can get guys off their feet for a day or whatnot. When you have a primary DH, I think it kind of hurts your lineup ability, like the roster construction. But I think there are things he can do to be serviceable at third base, and I'm sure they're going to continue to work on that as long as they can.
Yeah, but this is a time to praise him. Let's not
exactly. Yeah,
whether or not he should.
You did that.
I know, and that's my fault. But I mean, you have to, if we're presenting the case for whether or not he's an MVP candidate. I think sometimes when we have discussions, whether it's people who do this for a living or just sports fans in general, we're always so hard on people. We say what he's not. Here's what he's not. So he can't be in the discussion for best player. But you won't discuss 99% of the league. You just want to talk about the upper crust and say, well, he can't do this and he can't do that. Like, it's the reason I hate the Jordan LeBron thing. Like, who gives a shit? If you were the top 2 in anything, like, if I'm just one of 2 people in a room and they say, hey, you're one of the top 2 people in this room, I'd be like, hell yes. That's awesome.
Can I tell you what you're not?
What's that?
I'll tell you what you're not.
Go for it.
You want to hear it?
I don't know. But, well, yeah, why not?
A bad person.
Well, that's sweet. I appreciate it.
You're a nice guy. You're a nice guy, C-Rose.
Sometimes. I can get a little ornery. Can't we all, though? I'm always impressed by your pencil flipping ability, by the way.
Yeah, I am. I was born with these hands, Chris.
Did you used to do that in Crespi High during geometry class? You were bored?
I don't think I hated math. Got to be honest with you. I was good at it, but I hated it.
Oh.
My senior year, I was flex right here, AP Calculus. I took it for one day, but then I remember that I'd already signed with USC, so I went to my guidance counselor, and I was like, I'm not doing this math class. So I took statistics instead.
Ace it?
Yeah, it's like a sophomore class. I was a senior.
Oh, that away, bro. All right, we got more of the show coming your way, but first, a word from Trevor Plouffe.
Yes, this show is brought to you by Black Box Sports AI. Black Box is our favorite tool to get the edge for MLB betting. I know, like myself, some of you don't like to do a ton of research. You rely on feel. So Black Box does that work for you. They've hit on over 68% of their picks last season. And last year they finished up over 30 units. And what that means is whatever you bet, that's your unit. So 30 times, whatever you bet, that's what they were up last year. You can see their hit rate for yourself on the website, fully transparent with yesterday's winners and the losers. They don't just show you the winners. I like that a lot. It's not designed to work overnight, but if you follow the system for the rest of the season, you'll be shocked at how effective it is. Black Box Sports AI is the tool to bet MLB smarter. Get started today by using code BASEBALL at blackboxsportsai.com for your first week free. So you get a whole week free if you use the code BASEBALL. That's code BASEBALL, blackboxsportsai.com. Black Box Sports AI, smarter baseball bets.
I don't know what the odds are that I'm going to sneeze, but I think they're pretty good. So give me a second.
Oh, yeah. Man.
Did you hear that one?
Yeah. God bless you. That sounds like a Dr. Snooze. A Dr. Snooze sneeze? What is that?
Do you want me to read that to Teddy or Isla?
Dr. Snooze sneeze?
Yeah. I could sign it.
I love Dr. Seuss, man. I'm all about it.
I love it. I miss those times. All right. Francisco Lindor returned to Cleveland last night. First time since the trade. Got a very nice ovation as he stepped to the plate. I know. It is. He didn't even get a chance to say goodbye, right? Because we had the COVID season in 2020. Then he got traded right before 2021, and he hadn't played in Cleveland. So we're talking about 5 years since he had a chance to tip his cap to all the Cleveland fans.
That's not a great ovation.
So, okay, before I get to the question, I do want to hop on this because this was a big talk of the town in Cleveland yesterday, and I kind of got into it with some people on social media.
Okay.
And I asked the question, why in the world? Because one of the radio affiliates in Cleveland, will you boo or cheer Francisco Lindor?
What?
And I said, why would you boo Francisco Lindor? And a lot of people came back to me and said, well, he admitted to not playing his hardest the last year, and he called Cleveland fans lazy for calling him Frankie instead of his given name of Francisco. And I sat here and I said, this is what we're complaining about? If you go back and look, first of all, it's not he didn't play hard his last season. He said he didn't work out in the weight room as hard as he should have. And it cost him down the stretch. He said he made a mistake with that. And the other thing, like, who cares? If he wants to be called Francisco, I'll call him Francisco. Fine, I don't care. I called him Frankie in a tweet yesterday just to get enough characters in because it was a long tweet.
Oh, no.
And somebody called me out on it. It's like, he wants to be called Francisco. And I said, you're right. I said, I think I've earned enough goodwill with him face-to-face where if I say, hey, I accidentally called you Frankie in a tweet, I don't think that he would punch me in the face, but I could be wrong. So I was mildly disappointed in the reaction by the Cleveland fans. You're allowed to boo or cheer. I'm not going to tell you how to feel. I think that he did as much for anybody to revitalize baseball in Cleveland during that stretch. He was our star.
He was a spark plug, man. Big time for that franchise. Yes.
Played against him.
But you know what? I played against him so much. So fun to watch him play. I will say this about the crowd. It's like you said, like 5 years ago. So like it's the shine is worn off. You know, like if you come back the following year, people remember you, and it's just how it goes, man. You always get forgotten, and that's why I named my team Forgotten Rotten.
I just think that we are nitpicking with people in terms of, well, Francisco Lindor, he didn't like being called Frankie, and he called us lazy fans. And then here's one of my favorite too. They said that they got mad at him because he took a nap during Game 7 of the World Series when there was a rain delay. Plouffe, how many people sleep during a rain delay when you go and you're playing baseball?
A lot. There's just sleepy people out in the world, Chris. It's people who get any time to chill, they fall asleep. Like maybe he's one of them. Maybe I don't know if you guys thought about this, but the World Series and the playoffs, they're very daunting and can make you tired. And he was just trying to be re-energized for Game 7.
Like it happens. I know guys, all sorts.
The sleeping stigma is crazy to me. It used to be so frowned upon. It shouldn't be anymore. We have so much science to back up how good sleep is for you. And still we have, I'm going to say this, the lazy take of that you shouldn't be sleeping. Get sleeping whenever you can, people. Your brain will thank you.
Yeah. So I'm not here to tell him how to do his job. They're all like, well, Jason Hayward was firing up his troops. I was like, that's the only thing Jason Hayward did in the damn series. Like, Francisco Lindor played every inning of a freaking daunting playoff run. Get off of him. Anyway, I suppose my question is, because Lindor is one of several high-priced Mets that is underperforming this year, is the only thing that can salvage this trade and then subsequent $341 million extension that he received from New York is a World Series Mets win.
No, what is, first of all, I don't even like this over here. I'm pointing at it right now. Has Francisco Lindor been a bust as a Met? In what world has he been a bust for the Mets?
Well,
if you go back,
hold on, there's a question mark on there. It's not a statement; it's a question.
Okay, it shouldn't even be a question. I'm not getting mad at you, producer Dan. I'm just saying that's crazy to think that. Go back to 2022 until now, present day. He's 12th in the major leagues in WAR. I would say that if you're the 12th best player according to WAR, that's pretty good. You'd sign one of those players for an extension like he got. Now, can a World Series salvage whatever? Yeah, that's going to be better for his contract and his legacy. But we've seen it time and time again. One player doesn't make it. You can't get to the World Series because of one player. Like Francisco Lindor, like has his offense matched what his defense can do? Like, not really. I think he's a better offensive player than he showed for the most part. But if you can have an 800 OPS guy play elite platinum glove shortstop, that is worth every penny that you can pay the guy. So Lindor has not been a bust. He hasn't been the Mets' problem. Like, has there been some weird stuff going on in that clubhouse? Like, maybe, but I also don't think that's all him either. Like, you need to figure out your clubhouse. You need to get people healthy. You need to get a better roster construction. Those are all the things that are going to help the Mets, not Francisco Lindor doing anything different than he's doing.
Yeah, I watch him a lot because he is one of my favorite players. In fact, when we traded him, I said it was possible that he's the best overall Cleveland player I had seen in my lifetime. Remember, I grew up and there were not very good players until the 90s. And then they came in droves. And so there were really good. But I'm talking about both sides of the baseball in terms of his ability to bring something else to the game. And I felt it. I would now say it's Jose Ramirez, and it's not particularly close.
He's eighth. He's eighth since that time.
Jose is?
In WAR, yeah.
Yeah, but just the other things that he does during a baseball game.
Do you know who's behind Lindor? Just right behind him? Ronald Acuna Jr., Nolan Arenado, Xander Bogaerts. Like,
yeah.
Elites.
And by the way, Adam Fultz in our chat points out that he has made top 10 twice in MVP voting as a New York Met.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, here's the problem, man. If you sign either an extension with a team you just got traded to, a la a Matt Olson, a Francisco Lindor, although Olson's was, nearly $200 million less with Atlanta. The only thing that is going to make it so that the trade is winnable for you is a World Series for a lot of people. I think that's the only way that you can get out of really for a guy like Lindor. If you sign anything over $200 million in this sport as a free agent or right after you get traded somewhere, people for the most part are not going to look at it as a favorable contract. They're just not.
I mean, you have to win. You win some awards. I think that takes the sting off as well. Like an MVP award, a Cy Young award, surely that does as well. I mean, I know what you're saying. Like you have. There's a lot of expectations for Francisco Lindor in New York, but again, he's performed admirably. I don't think he's performed like at his peak or the best that that he can, but he's performed well enough where you could say that's worth the money.
Yeah, his game has changed. I mean, he was a 300 hitter when he first got up here, and he sacrificed some of that for power. And as his power numbers continue to grow, in the last few years in New York, they've been very good. The average has dipped significantly. Yes. I think he's a 248 hitter in New York, and he was like mid 280s in Cleveland. Like it's a major difference. And some people say they don't care about batting average, but his OPS numbers have dipped significantly still, even with all that pop. So I don't know. And one last thing, Cleveland fans, he chose the money. Jose did the great thing. Jose did what was right for his family and signed an extension. So what? If you ask 100 people, I would say, I'm sure high 90s would go pick $200 million plus to go elsewhere. Hell, I would. Doesn't make me a bad person. I don't know.
You're not a bad person. We already established that, Chris.
Thank you. I will say this. Francisco Lindor is owed $240 million through the 2031 season. Almost a
pocket change for Stevie.
$1 billion, I guess. Champs start a series against a team that has championship aspirations. It is Ranger Suarez and the Phillies taking on the Texas Rangers.
Oh, I like that.
Texas just 2 back in the West, even though they're only a 500 club. Because of all these injuries, is Texas actually in really good shape, or are you worried a little bit about them?
I would say they're not in bad shape. Clearly, they're right there in the thick of things in the West. But I am a little worried about them. I mean, they have some players that are struggling. Corey Seager's, needs to get it going a little bit more. I think by the end of the year, we won't worry about that at all. I think he'll get to his numbers. Like, I don't know if he's going to get to what he did last year, but, I think he's going to put up a nice season. I think we saw maybe the best of the Rangers. Last year we had, Evan Carter come and do his thing for a month and a half. He looked like he was going to be, an MVP, like Gunnar Henderson type of guy. He hasn't been that way so far. So we relied on that. And then, we do have some pitching injuries. I think Jonah Heim right now, yeah, he's a 696 guy. Like he's got to get going. There's a lot of guys having down years, and then you have to, decide for yourself. I guess we'll see by the end of the season. Are they down years, or are they more towards what you'd expect from a guy? Like, is Evan Carter a 900 OPS guy, or is he like a 750 OPS guy? Like, we don't really know that because we've only seen him for 2-3 months now in the big leagues. Wyatt Langford was supposed to come up and be the dude, and he just wasn't that, and then he got hurt. And I think getting Josh Jung back will be really good for them. So I think it's a mixture of, hey man, like yes, we're injured and we're expecting those guys to come back and perform. We know about all the pitchers, but they're still dealing with the same thing with the bullpen. They got a couple guys at the back end that are doing really well, like David Robertson and Kirby Yates are great. Everybody else not so good. So they're still dealing with the bullpen issues. They figured that out last year. Bochy miraculously figured it out for the playoff run last year. But I think I would say, yes, I'm a little worried about the Rangers this year. I was worried about them last year, and they just got real hot offensively and in the bullpen. And they just got hot as a team during the playoffs. So I would say if we're looking and putting them on that scale, Chris, like World Series title or bust, like, yeah, I'm a little worried about the Rangers, to be honest with you.
I will say this. The Rangers and Houston, very similar situations in terms of having all that starting pitching banged up. Unlike Houston, Texas's reserve system has done a remarkable job. Among the league leaders in terms of batting average against for starting pitching. Like, it's pretty good. So shout out to guys that have done the job. Gray, Heaney, Lorenzen, Urania. They've kind of got an open spot right now because Jack Leiter has bounced in and out and has not done a good job when given the opportunity. But they still have Scherzer, DeGrom, Bradford, Eovaldi, Dunning is on the injured list as well. You mentioned Josh Jung. I mean, the numbers with him as opposed to without him for a young third baseman over the last 2 years when he plays and when he doesn't play, and unfortunately he's had these injuries the first couple of years, pretty stark. So he obviously means an awful lot to that lineup. So I think that Bochy's probably playing it like we're waiting through here. I think the good thing for him is that Seattle has not turned and run away, and Houston got off to that horrible start. So they're very much in this thing. I think they probably, if you were to ask them to tell the truth, they're probably thrilled that through a quarter of the season they're 500.
Yeah, I think they're going to be. I think they're going to be right there. I'm just looking at the guys that had all this success last year. Can you match that again? For some of them in year two, or again. I think if we go back to last year, like during the season, like we weren't thinking Texas Rangers World Series team, but by the time we got to the playoffs, like they were just extremely hot and they ran everything. You couldn't, that was it. Kind of what it takes.
We're freaking 11-0 on the road in the playoffs. By the way, don't forget to check out the latest episode of the Rose Rotation with Austin Hedges. He showed us his World Series ring that he got last week when Cleveland made a trip to Arlington. Very nice. Wore it the whole show because, of course, he did.
Yes.
All right, before we get out of here, Bryce Harper. Okay, my man.
I love
the ultimate assist.
Yeah. Oh my God. Hi, Julia.
I'm going to cry.
How's it going? Jake wants to ask you prom, so I thought I'd help him out. If you want to go to prom with him.
I want to.
So you're going to prom with him?
Yes.
Awesome. There you go. You got it.
Oh my gosh.
So, for those of you that are audio only, at the doorstep of a young lady, and Jake is the young man, I think I heard, and Bryce with the promposal. And she went and hugged Bryce Harper first for her date.
It's rule number 1 to all the young guys out there. Don't bring your girl around a Bryce Harper or one of these pro ball players, man. Are you kidding me? That's rule number 1. Number 2, this is actually awesome. How did that happen? Like, did he just ask him on Twitter or something?
Can't find. There's got to be some connection here. Somebody's parent works with the Phillies. There's got to be some. We're going to find out today because the Phillies were off on Monday, and so somebody will ask Bryce about it. Give us this story.
I took Olivia to the Dodger game. We sat right by the Dodgers dugout. That's a mistake by me too. I mean, all these dudes in their uniform. That's even for me. I used to be one of those guys.
She didn't wear a T-shirt that said, I'm with the hot guy and an arrow pointing your direction?
She basically did because she had a John Boy T-shirt on. So,
Oh, yeah. That's it.
I do have a quick story about a promposal. This was a homecoming thing.
Okay.
I don't know if I've told this story before, but this is a good one. I'm not going to tell you what year it was or what girl it was because I don't want to embarrass them. But there was a time where I was going to ask this one girl I had a crush on to a dance. And I told my mom that. She's like, no, you have to take this girl. She's like a family friend of ours. And I was like, no, like I'm going to ask the other one. And she's like, no, like I need you to ask this girl. And she goes, if you do this, I'll buy you a PlayStation. And I had to weigh those two options. I was like, shoot, like, what's worth more to me? So I got the PlayStation and took the other
my
girl.
God. No way.
Yeah. I was a nice guy. Like we had fun. Like it wasn't, but I wanted the PlayStation, Chris.
You took the PlayStation instead of taking the girl you wanted to take to the dance?
I figured the girl was going to be there. The time for me to get a PlayStation was, running out. Like that wasn't an option to me all the time.
Did you ever go on a date with the other girl?
That's a good question. I danced with her, but no, I think she actually kind of like blew me off a little bit. Yeah, didn't happen too often
with
to
the
me.
Xbox instead.
Yeah, maybe.
That's what it was.
Yeah, no, I never never dated her, never did anything. So
now don't you regret it?
I don't at all. The PlayStation was sick, Chris. I used to play Tony Hawk Pro Skater on that thing. Oh
nice.
My gosh.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, now we know that you can be bribed for almost anything.
Oh, that was 14, 15-year-old TP. I'm different now.
Yeah, you were right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
I would love to know what 14 through 18 TP was like.
Nice guy. My parents had just gotten a divorce, so I was like man of the house, could kind of do whatever I wanted. I was a good time.
I was a loser. I really was. I mean, really things haven't changed in 40 years for me.
My freshman year, I was kind of a mess. I was playing varsity baseball, hanging out with all the seniors, and they just messed with me all the time. So I was like that was my worst year of school. I got like a 3.5, which is not a 4.0 the rest of the year. Yeah. I should have had straight A's in high school, but they messed with me a little bit.
Well, if you'd taken that AP Calc, no
chance. That shows how smart I actually am, not taking AP Calculus when I didn't need to.
Very
right?
good decision making. Excellent. All right, we are back at it again on Wednesday. Plouffe has got a jam-packed schedule, including Twins. So we will see him on Thursday. Stephen Brault of the Pirates broadcast, our good friend, will join us. And if you want to join us live, we're doing a special time. We're doing 10:30 Eastern because there's a ton of day baseball. It helps everybody out. So we're going to go 10:30 a.m. live Eastern, 7:30 a.m. Pacific time. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, our talented intern, Tommy, and the uber-talented Trevor Plouffe, who does not want to take AP Calc anytime in the near future. I am Chris Rose. We will see you Wednesday on Baseball Today, presented to you by Factor.